Committee on Oversight and Government Reform will come to order, and without objection, the Chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time. We have an important hearing today reviewing the rising price of EpiPens. Anaphylactic shock will kill about 1,500 people a year. Roughly 4 people a day will die if they don't get the proper dosage of epinephrine. It's one of the ways that you can stop your child or your loved one from dying if they're going into this shock. This is a generic drug that's been around for about 100 years, and it works. It's a good product. People, parents, they need this. It's not optional for somebody who has severe allergic reactions to a whole variety of things. But what we're here to discuss today, and believe me, trying to drive into the depths of individual drug pricing was not something I set out to initially do. But it doesn't take very long to talk to parents or talk to people who are afraid that if this EpiPen is not within arm's reach, when their young child suddenly needs it, you don't have to talk to somebody very long to figure out that they have to have this. It's not optional. And so here's the concern. Here you got a drug that's been on the market for 100 years. Costs roughly $1. The actual juice that's in here that you need costs about $1. But the price of this has gone from roughly $99 for one to more than $600 for two in a very short amount of time. You literally see year over year where the price will jump $100 here and $100 there. It's a product that is not available on insurance plans, a lot of insurance plans. It's not mandated like some of the other things in Obamacare are mandated. And so suddenly you have people who can't afford what is a 1-year dose, right? There's an expiration date of a year. So they get 2 of them. Some families I've talked to have 10 of them because they need them in the car, in the backpack, they have them all over. And now we're talking about more than $600 to the consumer to have 2 of those. And so we got a lot of questions. Now, Mylan, as best I can tell from afar, looking at it, done a lot of good in the world, and they offer a lot of good products. But of the 635 products they offer, this generates about 10%. About 10% of their revenue is found in this one product. Now, they're here to tell us that they make about $50 profit, which I find a little hard to believe. And that's why I think it's important that the CEO, and I appreciate her willingness to come in and talk to us, is telling us that, well, the middleman makes more than we do. We get less than half of that revenue actually goes to Mylan. But here's what doesn't add up for a lot of people, and believe me, I'm a person who believes in profit motivation. You have 5 executives in 5 years that earned nearly $300 million in compensation. And this is, by all accounts, as best I can tell, one of their biggest revenue drivers and one of the biggest revenue items. They used to have a competitor. A competitor dropped out of the market. I believe it was 2010. I could stand to be corrected, but I believe it was 2010. When that other product left the market, the product price zoomed. It just went up. So here is yet but another example of a life-saving drug that you have to have. If you don't have it, you're going to die. And there's no competition, which brings us to why we have Mr. Throckmorton here from the FDA. One of my concerns, based on the sole economics of it, right? Basic economics. You have a generic product that's been on the market for 100 years, and suddenly you see this massive rise in the cost, or the price to consumers. That would signal to entrepreneurs that there's an ability to make a profit. And when you understand that the cost of goods for the juice is only $1, the delivery vehicle, which is unique, and it's innovative, There's a cost to that too, but when the juice is $1 and they're selling it for $600, there's some room for some profit. But if new market entrants aren't able to submit an application and get it through the FDA, then guess what? You have, in this case, Mylan, who's able to market a product, quickly raise the price, bring home an exorbitant amount of profit with no competition. You know, it was actually my brother who said, hey, why are you trying to get in the business of some private entity and how they price it? He said, because the market forces aren't at work. Competition cannot be in there. Competition would be good. It would help drive down the price. So we want to hear about the FDA approvals. And the last thing I would also mention here along the way. Suddenly, feeling the heat, feeling the pressure, Mylan has offered a generic version and cut the price in half. So that does beg the question, what was happening with that other $300? I mean, driving the price down is great, but Congress should be micromanaging that. But I do think this is worth exploring because we again saw a different drug earlier this year that we did hearing, and here we are again. And my guess is if it's happening in these two instances, it's probably happening in others. Maybe not as egregious, maybe not as big of a rapid rise, but I find this to be so extreme, and we're talking about tens of millions of Americans who have to have that. There's no competition. It's extremely expensive. It's not covered under insurance. There is not the competition. It is driving exorbitant profits, and that's why I think myself and Mr. Cummings are very jointly united in trying to address this, understand it better. We may have different solutions to it, but let's come back to my original premise. Parents don't have a choice. If your child, your loved one, has to have this, it better darn well be in that backpack. It better be there. It better be at school. And we want to try to offer some understanding and some relief to those parents and those people that go through that. Because every day, 4 people a day are going to die because they don't have this product handy. I'll now recognize the gentleman from Maryland, our ranking member, Mr. Cummings.